Hello everyone and welcome to another car profile, the BoP test, and this is the Honda NSX, or the Acura NSX if you're of course American or whatever else. Honda is called Acura, and yeah, this is the Group 3 car. So this is an MR car, so very similar to the Audi R8 in terms of its mid-engine rear wheel drive, but it's a little bit different to the R8 in the fact that this is turbocharged, so more towards the Alfa Romeo. Now, I've mentioned these two cars in particular with this car, and it does look very good as well, by the way, because it is in between these two cars in terms of its handling. It's very much like the Alfa, but then it has characteristics from the R8 as well, and it sort of makes its own unique car. It's a bit weird in that sense. But let's have a look at this car all the same. So, as per usual, we've got our 5 circuits we're going to do our tests on, and first is Brands Hatch to test the undulations, how the car handles undulations, curbs. It's a very fast section, very downforce section in the back end of the circuit. How does it handle itself? So, at the moment, going through this first turn, 16.9, that's a very, very good first sector. But one thing I was finding, especially through Paddock Hill Bend and at Graham Hill there, was it was acting very similar to the R8, and especially at Graham Hill, a bit like the Ferrari actually. And you can just see it there, the rear wanted to step out. That isn't power oversteer, that is just weird weight transfer, and also the brakes are very much towards the rear of the car, so you'll see the car constantly dicing a little bit. It's very, very, very good at turning. Like, you'll have very little understeer. However, you will find that the initial braking phase, the car will get very squirrely, and I think that is where it struggles the most. So as you see by the times on the right side, there's been a few ups and downs. We're in the high 122s, low 123s, where most of our cars are mid 22s and aiming for the low end, which is unusual because I expected this to be better, especially with the way it felt. It feels really good as a car in terms of like a race car. It's weird, it feels great as a race car, but it doesn't seem to have the pace there. And as you see, we get down to an optimum of 122.4, which is 2/10 down on where the vast majority of cars are. It's very close to the Ferrari, which I expect a little bit because it acted a bit like the Ferrari in Graham Hill Bend. Continue on into Dragon Trail. Now, I wasn't happy at Brands Hatch. I did 15 laps there. I also did 15 laps here because I wasn't happy. I felt there was a little bit of time there. Because to me at Brands Hatch, it was it should have been a 0.2 or at least a 0.3. Again, here, I think there was a 10th in it, especially in this first sector, as you'll see in a minute. So, obviously, I test different things when testing these cars. So, coming into here, I kept it in 4th. I think there's a little bit more time if I'd have gone to 5th. But you do rev the nuts out of this car, again, to get the most out of it. It's kind of nice that you have to do that, and there's no weird short shifting. It's like that for the majority of the cars. Coming through here, again, you're just putting your foot down. Being careful of a little bit of understeer that potentially happens if you take the wrong line or going too aggressive. This car wants you to go aggressive, and of course we're testing curbs here at Dragon Trail, and also the stability coming up to this corner. Now, it's a bit like, because it's an MR car, you want to get the power down very early, because obviously the engine's over the rear wheels. The more power you put down, the whole of the weight of the car goes onto those rear wheels, makes it more stable on acceleration, and through you go. Now, unlike most cars, this car, as I said, doesn't have a lot of understeer, so you can fly through there. Now, I made a mistake there. You saw the 4-wheel drift, which lost me loads of time. That's the only thing with this car, because it's MR, the front lifts, so sometimes you can get a 4-wheel drift. Unlike other cars where it would just shoot you off into the barrier, 4-wheel drift, so bit unusual in that sense, but even so, we continue racing on. And where are we going with this? Let me have a look at my spreadsheet because it's open to the side of me. So 37.434. As you see, the times are a bit all over the place. So I'd say it was a bit all over the place in terms of trying to nail it successfully, because there is an issue with braking. We come to Interlagos. Now, as you see on the right side, we've done a fair few good laps. Obviously, the last one, the NSX GTR? No, the Nissan GTR. Let's get it right. Was very quick in the first sector and absolutely was miserable in the middle sector. This car is good at Interlagos, let me tell you that much. It's not the greatest, but it's good. So going into here, we get a 23.1, which is fairly good. Now coming through here, as long as you keep it stable, the car likes to oversteer there into that corner. As long as you keep it stable, you can still accelerate out and still be on a good lap as we come onto this double right-hander. This one was quite tricky. I actually got a bit of understeer on the exit, as you see there, And then coming into here, trying to get the car turned in. Weirdly, it didn't want to turn in that time. It seemed to stable itself a little bit. Very unusual. Quick through here. No issues really. Just got to be careful of oversteer. As I say, a little bit of weight transfer. It does have slight bits of issue with the car, but you can plant your foot. Look at that. I just plant my foot and it sticks. It's great. As we accelerate round, I have to lift a tiny bit, not too much, on that little bump there in that corner. Again, we're at Interlagos test undulations, and to see how the car reacts. Now, the car's had a brilliant lap. A 44.6 middle sector is a very good middle sector. Obviously, you can go quicker. As I say, we're after optimums here, not faster slaps. But I think it loses out on the acceleration, this car. I think it struggles with top end and accelerating out of corners. Actually, we get 130.9, which is pretty much our fastest lap. The next lap, we just went slightly faster in the last sector. So we just get that down to a 0.939. So it's obviously in there with the majority of cars at that point. As we head to Nurburgring. Now, this lap that I'm going to show you at Nurburgring is a pretty good lap, to be fair. I was very happy with this lap. I wasn't expecting the car to do as well as it was doing anyway, with 55.6 on lap number 9. Because it felt like the car didn't have enough oomph about it. And if you look at what the BoP is 96 power and 102 weight. You can see why it doesn't have a lot of power. And I bet it's been done because of the handling, because it handles amazing. Obviously, you've got a slight issue with weight and the rear brake balance, but you'd sort that out by putting the brakes to the front. -1 or -2, and you've solved that. And then this car would be like amazing. We don't do that on these tests because we're testing them all at 0 to give a balance indication. Otherwise, we'd be messing for brake balance for days on end. And then obviously that's also driving style and stuff like that. The driving style does affect this, but even so. So we get a 101.8 there at that sector. Now that's up there with the best time so far. Not much more that goes much quicker than that by that point. And as you saw, first sector 35.8, so second sector 26.0. It's a good lap so far. Going through here, just see the car getting a slight little wiggle on, no problem. But we can plant our foot again straight away. Look at that! You can just plant this car, put your foot down and go for it. It's brilliant. It proper feels like a race car. I said it at Brands Hatch. It's one of these cars where you can, yes, it's a bit unstable occasionally, but you can absolutely rag the thing and it's great fun. So through here we go. You've got to be careful on the exit of the chicane. As I say, MR cars, the front of the car does lift. It's got no weight in there, remember, on curbs, so it does have issues with like chicanes like that. So we accelerate towards the line now. We end up on 55.3, but our optimum is 55.235. Where again, we're in with the thick of it there. The vast majority of cars around that, and then obviously the faster cars are breaking into the 54s. And as you saw by my options there, it was all on the towards the end, which is good because that's what we want. If it's towards the end, we know we're pushing the limits of the car. So Suzuka, again, I think this is where they do their BoP test, if I'm honest, because to me the cars seem most balanced at this circuit. Now there's the odd exception like the Porsche, which just flew around here, but even so, the first sector here surprised me the most. Now it acts exactly like the R8 in terms of the first corner. You've got to really mess about with the brakes to stop the car from oversteering too much. Again, as I say, it's because of the way the car acts under braking. Forward brake balance does solve that. Through this corner, oh my god, this car is amazing. I've never experienced a car so good through that left-hander. You can absolutely just fling it in and it sticks. It was ridiculous. Now obviously towards the end of that just before Tidgney 1, it'll then struggle with speed, which is only why it's a 19.1 and not a 19.0 or an 18.9 in that sector, but that's the reason. So at this point, you know we're doing quite well because those sectors are matching what other cars generally do at this point. But again, I think it's the top end speed here. So you saw we got an excellent run out the hairpin, because you can plant your foot and it just goes. Unlike the GTR where we were flying all over the place with the rear, straight away we can get in there. It struggled a little bit of understeer in this corner, which was really weird. Now I was debating second and third here. There wasn't really that much difference. We lost a tiny bit of time in that corner, but I did it really well on the fast lap that I did it on. So as we accelerate towards the cones, now this is where I get surprised because it just clicks to 155 at the cones, which is surprising because I feel like it's lacking speed or it's lacking something. It's either speed or the braking. And by this point I was tempted to say it's the braking. I feel like I am braking earlier than most cars, so that could be the case, and that could also be because of the wiggle. Obviously if you're wiggling on the braking, you're not getting your full braking power. So in terms of optimums, that's a 159, 165. Again, it's in the thick of it there, really. Most cars are actually in the 58s. We're close to the R8, and again, it handles a bit like the R8. So it's actually come out quite low down. It's in the 25s again, but I think it should be slightly faster by about 3 temps, because I do feel brands there was potential time, but I could have been there for days doing that. So I do feel it is around the Aston, and potentially should be around the R8. But again, that's not obviously close enough to the Porsche and the Lexus, which are miles in front at the moment. So looking at the comments, it does have some weight transfer issues under braking. Brake balance again seems rearward, so you have to mess about with the brakes a lot as they put brake balance forward. That should solve that. Undulations cause slight unsettling of the car. Nothing major, but it does happen, and you can use the curbs no problemo. One of the really good things is you can really plant your foot in this car and it will just stick. It absolutely sticks. It's great. And the only time you get power oversteer is if you're overturning the car. So you've got a risk indicator of 4, because some parts for it basically it's like the R8 in a nutshell. R8 and the 4C is perfect in that sense, to give it a 4, because it's very similar. So yeah, it's a bit further down than expected. So we'll maybe have to look at the NSX. Now there's a patch tomorrow which potentially has balance performance checked in. So I only checked that today because I had to just get the intro bit done. So there's not going to be a BoP test today. I'm going to wait until that patch, but then also the big video is getting uploaded, so we'll potentially see. But while that big video is getting uploaded, I'll be doing lots of BoP tests, so potentially you might have 4 at the weekend. But we'll see what happens. These take a long time, remember. It takes about 10 hours total. So I hope you enjoyed that video. There's a video playlist set if you want to watch any of the other BoP tests. My logo's there if you want to subscribe. Leave a comment if you've got any constructive criticisms or comments, or want to leave your support, etc. But that's it for now. Thanks so much for watching. I will see you in the next video.